As soon as you give up that loser you're obsessed with, like, you know, the one you won't stop talking about, you that your friends wanna, like, you know, punch you in the face every time you say his name. As soon as you give him up, you will find your man. This has been my theory for a while now, and it's just been confirmed again by another friend. I'm like, oh my god, who's this new boy? I have a boyfriend now. And I'm like, you know what? It's because you stopped asking me about you know who. Enter name here, Voldemort, etc. Every friend has that guy that they don't shut up about and they're so fucking annoying about, and it's like, you need to be told to shut up because they need to realize how annoying they're being.
What the hell are you talking about? Who are you talking to?
Gentlemen and gents, I got 50 intergalactic space bucks that says that this woman right here is the last person in her friend group who's still single. All of her friends either got married or have boyfriends or are moving on with their lives while she's glitching out over the fact that she's still single and going after men that aren't willing to offer her a probationary position in their collective harems. She's glitched out so much and has become so bitter that all she can do is lash out at her friends whenever they bring up something about their significant others. At least that's what I think is going on here. I'm honestly guessing at this point. I've watched this video about 3 times and I don't think I have a clear idea on what she's saying. But then again, to be fair, I don't think she does either. Modern women love their theories on love just about as much as they do about energy and bears. But I guess I can't blame her for that. When your life is as empty and pointless as the modern woman's, you'll desperately look for any reason to appear like you're more than just a glitched out NPC.
Wear off the obsession. Once you like block them, never speak to them again, it's like been a bit and you're not stalking them, that's when you get a boyfriend. That is the magic sauce, people. If you are obsessed with someone who like does not care about you, you're not gonna find him. You're really not. And I'm personally on a man cleanse. Like, I've not had a boyfriend in a while. I'm not doing boy. But you know, you always have that one person in the back of your head, that one little situation that you're like, But once you give him up, once you give up that annoying guy, you're gonna find him.
Sweet. You couldn't ignore me if you tried.
Woman, don't bother. Pookie Hauser MD has taken up a permanent residency in the mental asylum that used to be your head. Now, I do agree, obsessing over anybody is a terrible idea, and life does get easier when you stop thinking about that particular person, but you're not capable of that. He will always be in the back of your mind because that man is the man that you want, and nobody else will even be able to compare in the slightest. Your decision to actively try and pursue this man ended up breaking you to the point where you're almost having a Matrix meltdown on TikTok. You said it yourself. He's always in the back of your mind, and you can't help but entertain the idea that one day he'll come to you and tell you that he's willing to settle for so much less than he deserves, and that obsession, alongside the fact that your life is based solely on cringe views, is what's keeping you alone.
One of my best friends too, this is a message for you and that annoying f***ing loser, dude. This guy, just the thought of his name and like hearing another story about him, like, anyways, you know who you are, so stop caring about that loser, because as soon as you stop, as soon as you drop him, your boyfriend's coming. XOXO, and follow for more hard truths.
This is scary.
Yeah, and how is that theory working out for you, by the way? Have you stopped caring about that loser who forever broke your brain? Yeah, I didn't think so. It's really not wise for you to be making these kinds of guarantees on TikTok, especially when all of these videos are nothing more than just affirmations that these chicks tell themselves in hopes that they won't die alone. Nobody's coming for you, woman. You're not on a break from men. Men just want nothing to do with you anymore. Why should they? You post endless amounts of cringe on TikTok, pass unhealthy amounts of judgments on not only your friends, but also the men that they date. Plus, you got a massive case of the claw fingers, and that's just a dead giveaway of your snarky brand of hopelessness. And when you take into consideration the fact that your initial reaction to a vague idea you come up with is to put together a half-baked TikTok video with words that can barely be constituted as sentences, then we all know the harsh truth. And that truth is there isn't anybody on the face of the planet who's that much of a glutton for punishment to want to be with you.
Yeah, that checks out. That sounds about right.
Men, here are 3 things girls look for on a first date that they won't tell you about, but I will. And if you like this video, then I suggest you hit that follow button so that you can see more like it. Number 1, banter. Women appreciate going on dates with men who can keep up the flirty banter because it helps take the pressure off and keeps the date fun and lighthearted.
I'll believe that when my shit turns purple and smells like rainbow sherbet.
You know, I would agree with you, lady, but I also find this advice to be rather fruitless. Now, hear me out. If an average man goes out on a date with a modern woman, then that woman has already set a massive minefield for this guy that's almost borderline impossible to traverse. If an average man says or does the wrong thing, no matter how inconsequential, a modern woman will cast him into the dark realm known as the creeper abyss. And once he's there, there's no getting out. The only men who have leeway when it comes to flirtation are Chad and Tyrone. And I'm not kidding. Those guys can pull a straight up nada and say that this woman's face looks like it fell in the cheese dip back in 1957, and she'll just consider it flirty banter. But those same rules don't apply to the members of the illustrious bottom 95% club. Now, don't get me wrong, confidence and taking some risks can go a long way, but when the consequences for a failed flirtation attempt runs the risk of a potential police report, then answer me this, woman, why should any man take that kind of a risk?
Number 2, good manners. Basic politeness, like holding the doors for her and being kind to the waitstaff or other people around you, goes a long way in showing your character and is definitely something she will take note of on a first date.
I must have missed 60 minutes. What are you saying?
Am I missing something here? Has there been some sudden change in societal norms where men are just treating waitstaff like garbage? I mean, woman, if you ask any self-respecting man, they will tell you the last thing you do is mistreat the waitstaff at any dining place. That's a good way to get lukewarm coffee and some dandruff on your steak. Now, most self-respecting men's manners are perfectly fine by societal standards. What we won't tolerate are women who use men for food dates, opting to endlessly scroll on her phone instead of giving him the minimum amount of attention required for a date, and ordering the most expensive things on the menu because you're not the one paying for them. The manners streak goes both ways, sister, so I really don't think it's fair to be insinuating that our manners are bad when the modern woman's manners are virtually non-existent.
And number 3, being dressed for the occasion. There is nothing worse or more embarrassing for a woman who just spent hours getting ready for a date than showing up to a date with a guy who very obviously put minimal effort into his appearance for the date. So make sure to look up the place you're going ahead of time so that you don't show up to your date severely underdressed and looking out of place. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and as always, feel free to save this video as a helpful reminder for your next first date.
Nope. That would be a waste of time.
You know what? I gotta call it. This woman's just making stuff up now. The only men who show up to dates not dressed properly are the kind of men who can get away with it for one reason or another. Your average man is gonna show up to the date dressed appropriately for the occasion. You're the ones who are constantly overdressing and taking way too long to get ready and spending hundreds of dollars on face-altering chemicals that you habitually rub into your skin to make your face virtually unrecognizable. We never asked you to do any of that, and it's kind of insulting to think that we, as average men, are somehow so inept that you need to tell us that the secret to a good date is dressing properly. What's next? Remember to take a shower and wear some deodorant? This notion that men are just buffoons who can't get anywhere in life without step-by-step instructions is getting kind of old. Men have been doing all of the things that you mentioned, and yet here we are, still endlessly being judged for being dusty. So, thanks but no thanks, lady. Your advice isn't wanted, or helpful, or constructive.
Ridiculous.
And we're back with another episode of 50 First Dates.
Oh my god.
No crazy funny date stories today, but I have a strategy for you. I have created the ick list. What is an ick, you ask? The definition of an ick, as described in our very credible source known as the Urban Dictionary, is something someone does that is an instant turnoff for you, making you instantly hate the idea of being with them romantically. The Urban Dictionary used some very powerful words there, but it's basically something that's just a little bit uncomfy about a person. And the reason why I think it's so important to have a inventory of these little red flags only in the dating context, I'm gonna keep this only to casual dating, is because let's say you meet someone new or you've been seeing them over and over and they have an ick. They have something that just bothers you. I'm going to give my opinion here and be completely honest and say that there's probably a good chance it's the only thing you're gonna notice. It'll probably impact your connection with them, and it's a good chance you might end up letting them go. So gather your icks, write them down.
That is without a doubt
The dumbest thing I've ever heard.
No, an ick list is not a list of red flags. Far from it. It's a list of excuses. Excuses you use to keep yourself alone. It's a list of things that remind you that life isn't perfect and that you're going to have to make some compromises in your life when it comes to being in a relationship. It's a list of excuses that you use to shield your obvious insecurities from the world. You'd rather be alone than realize that your life isn't one gigantic fairy tale where everything's handed to you on a silver platter because of whatever romantic comedy you watched the night before. The ick list is just living proof of your refusal to accept that you're just average and that average men are the best in your league. It's nothing more than just blatant self-sabotage at the end of the day. But what's the life of a modern woman if not an endless cycle of sabotage and false spiritualism?
So what's on my ick list? I'd love to tell you. So I've sat back and thought about all of my years of dating, including serious relationships and casual dating, and I've created a little list. So first on the list is ghosting, and that is a completely different video. It gives me the ick. Too much slang or abbreviations over text. If I have to Google search the letter combinations you've sent me, maybe I'm dating myself here, but let's grow up, okay? Long fingernails, nope, can't do it.
Give me cancer now, guy!
All right, woman, what you're talking about is straight up unconstitutional. Allow me to explain. Modern women have claimed a monopoly on certain aspects of societal culture. That includes ghosting, which is always justifiable when the woman does it. Using more abbreviations than correctly spelled words in the text messages is dominated by the modern woman. And don't even get me started on the unsanitary choice to have fingernails that are so long it renders your fingers practically useless. Modern women have laid claim to all of these and will fight tooth and unnecessarily long nail to keep it for themselves, thus proving that what you're doing violates the very principles of liberty and justice. But then again, you are promoting an ick list, so there really isn't much hope for you anyway.
Smokes. Okay, honestly, this used to just be cigarettes, but now anything. I'm like, oh, I don't love that. I don't personally smoke. I just don't like it. Really bro-y language. Oh yeah, me and my buddy's bro. Immediately no. Leaves the toilet seat up. Messy room, talks about themselves too much, chains, big jewelry, licks, fingers, oh my gosh. Oh, this is a big one for me. Lack of ambition or drive. And road rage, kind of random, but I guess it gave me the ick. Anyways, guys, I hope this was a fun, random episode. Make an ick list. Whether you're in a serious relationship or dating casually, serious relationship has a different context to this ick list. It's probably a conversation you need to have with them, but I think it's really fun in the context of casual dating. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.
See you later!
You know what? I honestly think these women should just change this stupid ick list into the nitpick list, because that's all it is. It's just a list of excuses to judge men. Messy rooms, an apparent lack of ambition, use of language, and the stupid toilet seat thing just proves that you want to be left alone. A majority of these things you mentioned shouldn't be deal breakers. If anything, it could get you to lighten up a little. Some men have messy rooms. Other men are laid back and casual with their language. But even if that man isn't becoming a captain of industry, he's still working hard and doing the best that he can. But you'll never recognize that. It's just easier to say those things make you sick, and to the point where you have to write it down on a list. But what you fail to realize is nobody cares, woman. Because if there's one thing that turns off most self-respecting men, it's a woman who proudly proclaims that she has an ick list. And that is going to do it for today's video, gentlemen and gents. And as always, if you find that my particular brand of comedy is bringing you to the brink of laughter, then why don't you scroll on down and click that like and subscribe button. Maybe ring the notification bell and leave a couple of comments while you're at it. And also make sure to share this video so we can give the good old-fashioned middle finger to the YouTube algorithm. Props to everyone who got the They Live reference in the middle of the video. And thank you so much for checking out the new one. And until next time, peace out, homies.